If you're planning on starting your very first Google Ads campaign, this is the video that I encourage you to watch first before you even think about setting up your first campaign in Google Ads. And the reason for this is because Google has made it a lot easier to set up campaigns inside of Google Ads. Now, I'm not saying that that is a bad thing. I actually think it is a great addition to make Google Ads easier to use for anyone who's looking at launching their own business. The only problem with that is that all of this automation has really stripped out some of the key information and the key learnings that you really need to understand about the way that Google Ads operates. Because if you don't understand these core points, what will end up happening is you'll end up wasting money. And I'm really aware that the majority of people who would be watching this video would actually be starting out in business. So every little bit of marketing money they have needs to be spent in the best possible way. So what I want to do in this video is I want to walk you through the key concepts that you need to understand about Google Ads and how it works so that you can then go through and start setting up your first Google Ads campaign. Now, right at the start of this video, to help you further, when you are ready to set up your first Google Ads campaign, I do want to let you know if you go to the description of this video, you can actually get my free campaign setup guide, which is going to not only take you through the step-by-step process, it'll also give you some explanations of all the different types of settings, and it's also got all of those screenshots. So it's a really valuable tool to walk you through the correct way of setting up your very first Google Ads campaign. As I said, you can get the link in the description below. All right, let's now get into the explanation, and a very brief explanation. So this is like the beginner's guide to Google Ads. The first thing I want you to understand is that Google Ads is based on an auction, but it's not the type of auction that you would immediately think about. This is not like an eBay auction where the highest bidder always wins. And the reason for that is because Google doesn't only look at your budget or the amount that you're willing to pay per click, it also creates what it calls an ad rank. And this ad rank is the determining factor of how Google chooses which ads to show in each individual auction. Now, to put it really simply, the way that Google decides who wins the auction is that when someone completes an initial Google search, Google runs through this process really quickly to calculate everyone who's bidding on those keywords, what their ad rank is, and then the business with the highest ad rank gets that number 1 position. The person with the second highest ad rank gets that number 2 position. And then, as you can see, it goes on and on throughout the different placements. Now, when it comes to your ad rank, there are some different factors that Google takes into place. Firstly, your bid, and that is how much you're willing to pay for that click, the quality of your ad. And when it comes to the quality of your ad, I don't want to understate this, is that you do need to remember that for Google, the core goal that they want to achieve is that they want to match up the most relevant ads that are sending people to the most relevant landing page, which is relevant to their users' initial search inquiry. So one of the core successes or the core drivers for success with Google Ads is you always need to think about that relevancy. Having highly relevant ads, taking people to highly relevant landing pages back to their initial search. So far we've spoken about the bid, how much you're willing to pay. Secondly, the quality of your ad, remembering it's all about relevancy. How relevant is that ad to the user's search? And some of the other core factors are the user's context, so their location, the time of the search, what device they're using, their current search history. So that's very much based about their user. And Google is introducing more and more AI elements into this. So they're looking at the expected impact of your ad. So that really does start to take in your previous performance. And that's why it's really important with Google Ads to remember that although your ads are showing, straight away or pretty much straight away after you launch your campaign, that it's all about building success upon success. So generally what you find in Google Ads is that your results will get better over time as Google gets to learn more about the type of users who are more likely to not only click on your ad, but have a positive experience when they get onto your landing page. And although this can get really confusing, as a beginner, what I really want you to take home is this core message when it comes to your ad rank. That better ads and a better user experience will give you better results. So when you're planning your Google Ads campaign, you always need to be thinking about what is the most relevant ad copy that this user needs to see, and what is the most relevant landing page, which will help them with their initial search and query. And if you can get that in your campaign, you're going to be already 3 or 4 steps down the road of seeing success with your Google Ads campaigns. Now, there are some other factors that do determine your ad rank, but as I said, if you can just really get that core feature down pat, that you really want to make sure that your ads or your landing pages are highly relevant to the user's initial search, you are going to be well set and well positioned for success, even with your first Google Ads campaign. So now we've spoken about that Google Ads is based on an auction, and that it's not just the highest bidder who wins because it talks about your ad rank. And remember, remembering, to get the highest ad rank possible, you really want to have a core focus of making sure that your ad copy and your landing page are relevant to the user's initial search. The next part that I really want you to understand that when it comes to Google Ads is let's now quickly talk about where your ads can show. So many of you would be aware that your ads can show on the Google Search Network so that when you complete a Google search, you see those ad listings. If you have an e-commerce brand and you're selling physical products and you've got a shopping feed set up, which can be easily done through a platform like Shopify or WooCommerce, your ads can then also appear on what's called the shopping network. They're those placements of the little product ads with the prices that you see generally above your search results. Your ads can also appear on YouTube, platform that we're talking to right now, but they can also appear in Gmail and on inside of apps or mobile apps. And then finally, you can also have those display ads, so those image-based ads. And if you've ever had the situation where you've gone to a website and then you've seen that business's ads follow you around the internet, that's a displayed type of ad. Now, there are a multitude of different types of campaigns you can run in Google Ads. And the big thing that I would really recommend is that if you are wanting to run video or image-based ads, is that you would set them up in separate campaigns. But as a start, my biggest recommendation is that you start with a Google search campaign so that you can really start focusing in on what search terms and what ad copies and what landing pages are working best for your business. Okay, so I've already taken you through the basics of the Google Ads auction. I've also taken you through where your ads can appear. Now let's talk about the targeting of your ads, because yes, it is true that you do target ads by keywords. So you can select what keywords you want your ads to appear for in the auction. But the thing I love about Google Ads is that it's not only based on keyword targeting, because you can also target people based on their locations. Now you can do this via country. You can also break it down to targeting different states, cities, and you can also target different postcodes or zip codes depending on where you live. You can also target your ads based on the devices, so you can run ads specifically for an iPhone. You can also run ads for laptops or for different iPads. So if you've got a product that you know is really highly targeted for someone completing a search on a mobile phone, you can limit your ads to only show up on people who are completing a search on a mobile phone. And then above that device targeting, you also have an option for targeting via audiences and demographics. So if you've got a product, say for example, that is really high specific for newborns, you can target your ads to only targeting parents who have recently had a new baby. And this is one of the great things I love about Google Ads is that you can get really specific around not only the keywords, but the type of people and where they're based and what device they're using, so that you can really tighten in and focus on your core markets of who your products are best suited for. All right, so we've spoken about the targeting of your ads. Another thing that I want you to really understand with Google Ads is that there's really 3 different levels inside of Google Ads. There's your account, there's your campaigns, and then there's your ad groups. Now, let me just break down each of these. Now, when it comes to a Google Ads account, effectively, every account should only be advertising one business. So you might have multiple different campaigns. You can run that inside of one Google Ads account, but you do definitely want to make sure that you're not running campaigns for different businesses inside of the same account. So every business has its own account. Then a step down from there, you have your different campaigns. Now, there are different types of campaigns. So there's campaigns that are, only based for search. So you've got search campaigns. You've also got video campaigns, display campaigns, but you also may want to run different search campaigns in the same account. A perfect example may be, let's just say you have products which are targeted at men and other products which are targeted at women. You could split them out into separate campaigns. And the reason for that is because inside of Google Ads, your budget, so the way that you control your spending, is held at the campaign level. That's really important for someone who's coming over from, say, Meta or Facebook type ads, because in Facebook, you can run your budgets at a campaign level and an ad set level. Whereas for Google, it is different because your budget is only run at the campaign level. So you've got your account, you've got your campaigns, and then the level below that is your ad groups. And this is pretty similar. I'll use that Facebook example, is your ad set. So within your ad group, this is where you may bunch similar keyword themes together or similar products together so that you can really keep that relevancy for the user inside of your Google Ads account. And then inside of those ad groups is where you run all of your different ads or creatives. So the way to think about this is that the campaign is the tree, your ad groups are the branches, and the ads are the individual leaves. All right, now I know we've gone through a lot of information already, but also what I did want to do is, because I know when you do start Google Ads, sometimes you just get really confused with all of the different acronyms or terms that people are using. Now, I'm not going to go through a full exhausted list, but I just want to take you through some of the core acronyms that you'll need to know. And the first one is what's called CTR, which is your click-through ratio. And quite simply, this is how many people see your ad versus how many people click on your ad. So if you had 100 impressions or 100 people saw your ad and you got 10 clicks, that would give you a click-through ratio of 10%. Now, the reason for why your click-through ratio is so important is because you do need to remember that Google only gets paid when someone clicks on your ad. So you do really want to be focusing on your CTR to make sure you can get that as high as possible. As a general rule, as a benchmark, last year, a company called WordStream did some research and they released data showing that for search campaigns across America and Europe, the click-through ratio was just under 7%. So as a guide, if you can get your click-through ratio above 7%, you're doing pretty well. Another term you need to know, which is CPC, which is your cost per click. And this is purely the average cost of all of your clicks. So if you spent $100 for 100 clicks, your CPC would be $1 because you're paying $1 per click. Now, that doesn't mean that every individual click was $1. You might have some that are 89 cents, others that were $1.10, but it just averaged out to be $1 per click. Now, your conversion value cost. Now, this one is a little bit more complex, but this is essentially your return on ad spend. Now, the way that Google would show this, so let's just say that you spent $100 in ads and you got $500 worth of revenue, your conversion value cost would be 5.0 or a ROAS of 500%. And then another core metric is your search impression share. And your search impression share is how often your ads showed versus how often it could show. So let's just say that your ads appeared on 100 out of every available 1,000 searches, your search impression share would be 10%. So that's my crash course to get you ready to set up your first Google Ads campaign. Now let's just quickly revise what we went through. First, you need to remember that Google Ads is based on an auction, but the good news is it's not just based on money, because remember, it's all about that ad rank. And to get that higher ad rank, you want to make sure that you've got highly relevant ads going to highly relevant landing pages from the user's initial search. Remembering that your ads don't only appear on Google search, you can also get them to appear across the shopping network, inside of apps, on YouTube, and also on the display and Gmail networks. Also, remember, you've got different targeting options. So you're not only targeting by keywords, you can also target by locations, devices, and also demographics and audiences. So now that I've taken you through the very basics of Google Ads, you should be ready to start setting up your very first search campaign inside of Google Ads. And I want to help you here in two ways. Remember, follow the link in the description below so that you can get access to my Google Ads campaign setup guide, which has the extra explanations and also all of the different screen shares so you can follow along in a step-by-step process. And if you'd like to see a step-by-step tutorial, I want you to go through and watch this video right here. Thanks for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here. My name is Aaron Young for Define Digital Academy, and I look forward to seeing you in this campaign tutorial setup video right now. See ya.